Greetings, YouTubers! I haven't done an update in a very, very long time. Much has happened since I've done all the chassis. I managed to find some GTA wheels, and I've got the rear wheels on the rear, and they actually fit really good with that diff that's slightly too wide. I think if somebody was going to do the Crown Victoria diff, like if you do an 8.8 out of a Crown Vic, it's a straight bolt in, except for a couple of slight modifications with the where the shocks mount, and the upper control arms need to be shortened an inch. But that is it. You don't have to do anything else. The spring perches are in the correct spot, all the pickup points are in the correct spot, they just bolt right in. But it's really wide. But I think if you did the 6-inch backspacing wheels on the back that are on the Camaros and Firebirds and the Corvettes from the 90s into the 2000s, I think it would bolt straight onto the back as long as you got the axles re-drilled, or you just got aftermarket axles with the correct bolt pattern and then re-drilled the drums or the discs, whatever it was that you ended up with. I think it would end up perfect, because those rear wheels fit in there awesomely. I was so stoked. I thought I was going to have all kinds of... I didn't want to run wheel spacers in the back. I had to redo the brakes in the back because the calipers were positioned in a really goofy spot, but that's what you get with an aftermarket diff that's meant for just generic racing. So that's all done. I got airbags. I rebuilt all the suspension with poly joints. You can see my fuel system is kind of sort of half-ass in there. Battery box. This stuff I got pretty much done about 3 months ago, and it's been kind of languishing because the diff had a bunch of goofy stuff wrong with it. It was a bunch of the bolts that hold in the pumpkin. 3 of them along the top and then a couple more on the sides were absolutely in the wrong place. And this was a reused center section that they just put new tubes into. So how those studs would have been in the wrong place is just beyond me. But I had to fillet weld them and re-drill them and reposition the studs, and that took a while. It was just a little of everything. And a brand new drive shaft. I got 3-inch DOM, 1350 joints front and back. The transmission is in. I'm going to build a drive shaft loop soon, not sure when. And this is the I don't know if I showed it before, the cross member that I built from scratch, and I tried to make it as high as possible so 3-inch exhaust would be able to run through here. And I might have to notch the other side because it is slightly lower, but this side's absolutely no problem. But the material I made it out of is so thick that even if I notched it 3/4 of an inch, it wouldn't affect the strength of it at all. And you can see kind of how the oil pan hangs down just a little bit. It's the muscle car pan, and it's actually not that bad. I thought it was going to be worse once everything was all finalized, but once I got the car down on the ground, and of course the front end is going to sink down just a little bit more. I'm thinking probably 3/4 of an inch once I get the full weight of everything in here. But this is where the air to water intercoolers are going to go. There's a nice dead space in there, hopefully. We'll see. If not, CX Racing makes a really good air to air that can go in the front. I'll just have to drill holes in the bumper, and unfortunately here in BC we have to have a front plate, so I don't know, I might relocate the plate mount maybe over there or something like that, but I'll probably end up drilling holes. in the bumper, just so that the air to air can get decent airflow. And so those are the Camaro brakes and rotors that with the brackets that I made up before that I showed you guys. And everything else just got rebuilt with polyurethane and all brand new joints from Forge Line, which is a brand of product I've never used before. I've always used Moog problem solvers, so we'll see how those last. You can see with the brakes, I actually have some washers behind the wheels to space the wheel out a little bit, and I'm going to get a billet 1/4 inch or 3/8. I think I settled on a 3/8 spacer, because there's just not enough behind these Trans Am wheels to give adequate clearance for the calipers. It's really close. It's so close that I'm afraid the caliper is going to expand when it gets heated up, and it'll start rubbing against the wheel. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And I have the turbo manifolds roughed in. So I decided to do a log manifold out of Sked 40, just regular steel, not stainless. Sked 10 probably would have been a better way to go, but I don't have a TIG welder, and I'd like to get a TIG welder, but I don't know if I'm going to get one anytime soon. And doing it out of Sked 40 regular steel is fine, because I'm just going to wrap this stuff anyway. Nobody's going to see it. So this is the main log, and you can see this is a Jeep shaft that I got, which ended up being a friggin' gong show, because I don't know what the Astro shafts are much better. This Jeep shaft has play in that fat part that you see there, so they're not solid. That fat part has regular rubber in it, and it's loose. It's kind of floppy. I'm not really digging it. The slip joint is kind of floppy too. So the slop that I wanted to take out of the steering by going to a solid joint down there instead of a rag, and a solid joint up top, which was my problem. I had a clunk in the front end, and I thought it was something in the front end, but it was actually the joint. When you would return back to center, the cross pin in it was straight up and down, and it would just fall down to the bottom of the socket, and it would make a thunk. And I thought it was something in the front end, but it wasn't. It was that. But that thing has slop in it. So I've got this just a El Cheapo exhaust adapter that is the right diameter to either butt weld on here, or either insert and then weld around. And I'm just going to hog out some of the rubber that's inside, and then the other part I'm just going to pie it. I'm going to cut it and pie it and get it onto the shaft, and then stitch it up and grind it smooth, so you won't even really notice that I messed with it at all. And then I'm probably going to put a bolt through the slip shaft, so that it's going to kind of defeat the purpose of having the slider on there. But it's sloppy, and yeah, I'm not really digging it. And I couldn't find an Astro shaft that was complete at the auto wrecker that I was at. So I couldn't quite discern whether or not the slider part was going to be as tight as I was hoping it was going to be, but I'm very disappointed in how sloppy this is. So that'll be something I got to fix next year. And let's see, the power steering hoses. I kept the package. So this is the hose. Oh, sorry. It's Edelman number 71120, and it goes around and underneath. And there's a lot of, I see a lot of LS swaps into A bodies and G bodies, and they use some other hose, and I'm not sure what part number it is or where they're getting it from, but it goes straight up and does a big curl and then goes around to the back side. But I couldn't have that at all, because I've got, my downpipe is going to be going straight down basically once it comes out of the exhaust housing, and it's going to have to snake down through there. But it's totally doable. I have enough room. I've been testing with pieces of pipe, so I can have, I guess you could consider these low mount or under mount or whatever turbos, because the other one is going to be the kind of the same way. And I tried to position the turbos so that they were about as symmetrical as I could get. One sits slightly higher than the other, and one is slightly forward of the other one, but the forward part is easy to fix. I might just take a little bit out of this one joint, but having it farther forward does help. I can't have that one any further forward because of the AC lines coming out of the condenser, because I absolutely want to have AC on this thing. So there's where the condenser lines come out, and that's how close it's going to be to the compressor housing. But I'm going to have a 90 on here and a 90 on here, and they're going to go down and then circle around. And same thing with down there. I've got aftermarket fitting